We have to discuss it because, there were protests. It's starting to spill over, Robert. It's no longer a thing that's on social media. It's no longer a thing in the pubs and bars around the Emirates anymore. There's people actively doing stuff inside the ground. How many? I mean, I obviously didn't see the game live as it unfolded. What was the response like in the ground?
The response was very poor, to be honest. I mean, leading up to the game, you thought, the way it was being put across, there was going to be a mass protest. But on the day, if I'm being really honest, I'd say out of the whole stadium, no more than about 750 maybe placards held up. And I suppose Wenger, well, I read a comment today where he said he was expecting it to be a lot worse. And it just wasn't, it was just not, it weren't what a lot of people thought it was going to be.
Why do you think he was expecting worse?
I think he knows that, fans are really upset with him. They are. And I think...
what is your channel?
It's not just Arsenal Fan TV. I mean, fans are really upset with this season and how it's gone. I think there was some really ill-advised comments from Arsene Wenger, which he's kind of apologised about, which again, I found that was amazing.
To be more like Liverpool fans.
Well, he was blaming the fans. He was saying that, basically they didn't really, they need to get behind the team more. But the performances have been terrible, especially at home. And he's sort of trying to say that because fans have been on the players' back, that's what's led to the performances at home being so bad. I really disagreed with that.
I need to get Nicky. You're at a shacking club. You've gone through your fair share of managers. What's the best way to do it?
Do you know what? We haven't, Paul. We've had 13 in our history.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the best way to do it? Did you say?
How did you do it with like Zola or?
I just told them to sling their hook and that was it, basically. But no, I don't know. It's been so long for Arsenal. I don't know whether they.
I suppose it's a lot easier when you bounce from one league to another, though, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's probably a lot easier when you do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It gives you the.
Yeah, that's normally how we do it. We get relegated. and it gives him an out.
What do you reckon to it though? Because look, I think there's a lot of people who look at Arsenal this season and say should have been putting a title challenge together. If not, then does the manager's head roll? But also, there's 3 other clubs here represented who wouldn't be too upset with a consistent Champions League finish every season. Could the grass be greener on the other side?
Do you know what? I think it could. I can see both sides of the story. I can see the fans that want to keep him, and I can see the fans that want to get rid of him. But if he was a manager of our club, I think the problem with Wenger is he's become arrogant, and he's become sort of indulged in himself. And I'm the manager. I know what I'm doing. It's sort of. It's one of those things. Mourinho's got a bit about him, but he wants to spend the money. This is the confusing thing about him, is because you'd think after all the years that he hasn't won a league, this season was a real chance to go out and buy a couple of players. They blamed it all on the stadium, saying in 2006, and look, we've got this amazing new stadium. It's going to take us 10 years or so to pay for it, or 8 years to pay for it. Once it's paid, we promise you riches. And when it came, I mean, to sign a goalkeeper when they're desperate for a goal scorer, the thing that they'd done a few seasons ago with Suarez, offering 40 million and a pound, if they'd have given him 75 million pounds, he could have been an Arsenal player, and they would have maybe won it twice, 3 times since then. He's the best forward in the league, and it's that sort of thing. There's Benzema. Whether they're going to get him or not, I don't know. It didn't look like they tried.
Even fans who don't support Arsenal get frustrated at Arsenal in the way we do things, let alone the fans that follow them.
It's the centre forward.
When I say to people sometimes that Arsenal fans are amongst the most patient in the league, people laugh at me, right? But we've been 12 years. We now have the resources.
You're the most patient fans.
No, we have. The patience has run out because people realise now, they're like, listen, like you said, for 8 years, we all were like, all right, cool. We understand why we can't go and buy this player. We understand. But now, the resources are there. Why are we not doing it? Why? It's not about winning the league. It's about mounting a proper challenge. And for the last 5 seasons, we haven't mounted a proper challenge.
And the thing is as well, which is confusing to me, they went out I think that the only instance I've known them to spend a lot of money, and I mean a lot of money, is going out to buy Mesut Ozil. Yeah, that was 45 million, Rob, am I right? Now, Mesut Ozil, at this moment in time, is the top assister in the league. Imagine if he'd have had a goal scorer there. Imagine if he'd have had Luis Suarez there.
Well, that's what everybody's saying. That's what everyone's saying.
I remember transfer deadline day, and I think the question was which was the biggest loser, and I said Arsenal. Because if they'd risked trying to get a striker in January, they'd have pissed this league. They'd have won this league. And I know it's easy to say, well, who's to buy? Go and pay over the odds for somebody. Yeah. Go and pay over the odds for someone you want. That's how it works. Like you were saying, Suarez should have got him for 75. You should have just said, yeah, we'll get that back, no problem. Yeah. With Suarez, Arsenal would have won 3-4 back-to-back leagues, no problem. Challenge for the Champions League. But it's not even arrogance with him, isn't it? It's just stubbornness. It's just stubbornness.
There's so much though when you've been in trench for so long, and you see this in all walks of life. If you've had no one to tell you no, and you've been the boss for that long, I think it goes to your head. I think you lose reality.
That's why, Paul, there was this protest, because the theme of the protest was time for a change. I think what kind of messed the protest up a bit is that there was so many different facets to that. So some people were saying time for a change, Wenger out, but there's other people who are like, no, they don't want Wenger out, but they want him to change. We want you to change, or they want the board to put pressure on him to spend money and to challenge for the title. There's so many things that
you know, that's
half-assed.
This sounds like Monty Python, doesn't it? Yeah. The people's front of, and you know.
Do you know what I think he likes doing? I think, and over the years he's done it a lot. I think he's got the wrong job. You know what he needs to go? He needs to go and do that storage hunters things, because he likes to pick up things for nothing and sell them for a profit.
It'd be amazing.
Arsene Wenger storage hunters.
It would be amazing.
Just have a storage cupboard full of big coats, loads of coats.
I mean, he loves to find a bargain, make him into a player, and then sell him for a huge profit. That's what he loves.
He's got a philosophy, and he's not willing to change that. And the biggest manager, the greatest manager of obviously the generation was Sir Alex Ferguson. And he always seemed...
Alex Ferguson. Yeah,
no, he's Sir Alex Ferguson.
Not in my eyes,
he was knighted by this country's queen.
Yeah.
You have respect.
Which countries?
This country's. You have respect for that lady and that knighthood, sir. Yeah, if you give one to Bob, you should be...
No. As you make Maggie as well, while you're at it, like.
She's dead and made up. She's still dead. There's mate anyway. Anyway, he was flexible though, wasn't he? Yeah. He would change his assistants, and he always seemed to have an eye on what was happening next.
Needed a goal scorer. Went and bought Van Persie.
He paid over the odds for the player for one season. Won the league, wasn't asked, was he? But what I mean is he was flexible though. He would always change his coach after a couple of years. He was always kept up with new ideas, fresh ideas.
That's what people are saying, time for a change.
He just wanted... But he had that flexibility.
But that's the problem though, Rob, is that this is where... I don't know, and I've seen it. I'm gonna have to bring it up, and people want me to bring it up. But this is, there's been a schism in Liverpool fans, and that's why there needed to be a healing, of course. But the point is that you've got the schism now; it's developed. But you all kind of want the same thing. But I think you've almost got three factions. You've got the ones who will blithely believe everything he says and carry on as normal. Yeah. You've got the middle ground, who, as you're saying, they just, Wenger, just be different, be a different person. You know what I mean? I
don't think there's a lot of people now. I can gauging it off of this season. There's not a lot of people who want things to carry on as normal.
No, but they will. But true.
They want some.
True enough. Even that camp will exist.
And I'd say, even though you didn't see a lot of people holding up those placards, there are a lot of people who want some sort of change.
Isn't that the problem, though? Isn't that the problem with football fans, though? They're all talk. And then when it actually comes to doing something, they all go quiet and don't want to be seen to be doing it like that. And it might be something to do, I don't know. I think we've had this conversation before about your ground and stuff, and I've heard this about other people's ground. Going, when you get the new ground, you haven't been sitting next to the fella for like 20 years, so you don't know whether he's got the same opinions as you, and you're terrified. And everyone's got their own sort of image of what they should do. We had the same thing on Saturday. Get loads of people say they're going to do something. They're going to, and then you get. Well, I don't know, whatever it was at Everton, 500.
Is that a subconscious move to cover your tattoo up when you were talking about that?
You know, listen, I feel like if I show my guns off, you're going to get really jealous. So,
and that's you heroes out there as well.
Well, of course.
If you could just rate Ped's guns out of 10 for us.
Sun's out.
Lots of zeros coming in.
Guns out. You just get loads of these footy fans who are just... it's just too cool for school to protest. We had it on Saturday. You're giving it all a big on social network. When it comes to actually, you know what? People were getting off with 5 minutes to go at our game on Saturday. Clearly, they just didn't want to be seen to have any part of it. Yeah. And it's ridiculous.
And there was a lot of that at Arsenal on Saturday where, I mean, there was a lady in the pub who told me that a father and son squared up in the ground. The stewards had to separate them because one's like, wants Wenger gone and the other one doesn't. You know what I mean? And it is causing a real split in the fan base at the moment.
But the thing is, though, Wenger played it very well. I think he played his last card. I think press conference saying, sorry, Robbie, just by saying that, just by what we all knew, but on what Nicky was saying, like, you know, explaining to everyone what the circumstances are and how important I am. Because I felt I genuinely watched that and went, I do feel a bit sorry for him, because imagine you'd done all that and you built the club, and then all of a sudden people are going, go ahead, mate, we've had enough here, thanks for all the memories. But
that may have played all right to fans outside the club. I think to fans who follow the club, it didn't, because we've heard that before. Now we want to see what is the next part of the plan to start challenging. And as I said, I think that protest did have a bit of effect on Arsene Wenger, because he came out the next day and apologised to the fans, something I've never heard him do, right? And the stuff that he, you know, criticising the fans and talking about, even when he mentioned the Liverpool thing, and Liverpool, hold on a minute, Liverpool fans sacked Brendan Rodgers. Yeah. When they wanted Rodgers gone, they made it vocal, and that led to Rodgers being out the door. So, you know, he should not be comparing that at all either. And I just felt that it had an effect on him, even though in a way it turned out better than he thought, because there was people singing One Arsene Wenger and stuff like that. But still, either somebody at the club has had a word with him to say, you know what, you need to start showing a bit more empathy towards the fans, because these fans are upset because we're not challenging. It's the same old thing like last year. We're not challenging. It's worse than last year, as a matter of fact.
But this could have been
a lot of it of Arsene Wenger's own making, unfortunately.
This could have been the season that give Arsenal the two electric shockers to get their title. You know, it's been such a long time for a club like Arsenal, such a long time.
And it'll be harder next season.
And it'll be harder next season, because you had the likes of Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, Man United.
Guardiola's going to be here. Conte's going to be.
They're all not challenging.
Chelsea.
They're nowhere near.
Klopp.
There we go.
They're nowhere near. And now that, you know, Arsenal have been up there, you know, and the fact that Leicester are going to win it.
And Tottenham are going to finish above them.
Tottenham are going to finish above them.
Tottenham are going to finish above them.
They may not finish.
Tottenham are going to finish.
They may not finish above us.
Tottenham are going to finish above them.
I think that
Tottenham,
they may
Tottenham,
not.
and the thing about it, no Tottenham players will get in the Arsenal team, are they?
No, apparently not.
None of them would get in the Arsenal
I said
team.
Harry Kane would get in, is what I said.
But the most important thing I want to know is...
You're a stirrer, you know.
What I want to know is...
Stirring that up again.
You talk about factions. You talk about factions there, but what does the Church of Robbie think about it all?
The Church of Robbie thinks that I agree with these fans when they say that something needs to change. Yeah. Something does. It cannot be next season like this, where we're not mounting. The last 5 seasons, after 33 games, 10 points off the top.
I don't want to nail you down to something, but can you give me 3 things that you might think that need to be changed?
No, those 3 things are for a paywall.
Well, I can give you one thing straight away. The transfer policy has to change. I'd have like a director of football, sporting director at Arsenal, who worked alongside Arsene Wenger to identify targets and buy players. I think at the moment, the system that we employ is not used by any of the other top clubs in Europe, where the manager makes all the top decisions. No other, Bayern don't do it, Real Madrid, Barcelona, none of them do that old-fashioned system that we have. That has to change immediately. The targets have to change. Just getting in the top 4 is no longer good enough. We want to challenge for I wouldn't say you must win it, because it's going to be really hard, but you must challenge.
Yeah.
When it comes down to these last few games...
Why wouldn't you say you must win it?
Well,
why isn't there enough of that in football?
I don't think there's enough of that at Arsenal. I think that there's some...
Because I think Wenger's bred that into them.
Exactly.
I think the owners of the club are happy just to get into the Champions League, just to be... There needs to be a refocus where they're saying, right, we want a challenge to win this thing. So when it gets down to like this stage of the season, there's 3 games to go, even if we say not necessarily going to win it, we're working out maths to say, well, you know, if he draws and we can still win it. Not like now where we're just completely out of it. No way.
For you on that then.
Is that like... Look, when you talk about you want a challenge for the title, is it good enough that you're buying players who aren't winners? Do you know what I mean? Because you can challenge for the title. No, you can... well, that's the thing, isn't it? You can challenge for the title, but if you keep getting beaten by, for example, Manchester United year after year after year, when that used to happen, is that good enough?
The transfer policy has to change. I feel that Arsene Wenger, one of his faults is that he's too loyal to certain players. You saw it on Saturday. He started with Giroud again, right? When Giroud, last 2 games, has been poor, hasn't scored for ages, right? Welbeck's been on fire. But I feel that because the Euros are coming up, he wants to get Giroud back in playing. He's very loyal to his players. That's how I feel.
What's the thing?
You need somebody who's going to...
loyal to France there? He wants to...
well, you know...
He's getting them in form for.
Well, Benzema's in the neck, isn't he? So
he's very loyal. He's very loyal to guys like Aaron Ramsey who've had a poor season. Yeah. He's loyal to these guys, right? Now, I think there needs to be a refocus where it's like, oh, you're not performing, you're out of the team.
What's the third thing then, Robbie?
The third thing I'd say, right, I'm not going to talk about the manager at this moment in time, but I'm going to say the guys right at the top, right, I think there could be, I'd rather Usmanov be in charge
I think
of
he's
Arsenal.
coming to Everton, mate.
I'd rather him be in charge. He's got the money, he's got the resources. I think if he came in, he would say, right, I'm going to give you whatever it takes to win that league. And I don't want to hear no excuses. Yeah. And I think that's what we need.
Brilliant.
We've got a guy at the moment that's like in the States. He owns all these franchises over there. He's got a ranch that's as big as Britain. I don't really think he cares much about Arsenal.
Yeah. I'm going to make
How
a
many
bold
times
statement.
have the
I'm
players
going to make a bold statement. I think this time next year, West Ham will be finishing above Arsenal. Because they've got owners, and as much as I hate them, they are just ruthless, horrible people who will do anything. And I don't think that there's enough of that at Arsenal. Yeah. There's too much infighting.
Well, listen,
whereas at West Ham, there's a clear focus of where they want to go. And Mark Noble is taking them there. I'm telling you, he is taking them there.
Absolutely.
He is leading the charge.
So we will be discussing West Ham's top 4 charge on the next segment. We're going to Chris in a moment. But just quick from the non-Arsenal fans in the room. Would you get rid of Wenger at the end? If you were Arsenal, would you get rid of Wenger?
Absolutely.
Right now?
Absolutely get rid of him. The time is... Football is all about timing. You know, and I think this is the summer where they should just cut the ties and he can go and manage PSG or the French national team if it's that important to him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the same. I would cut him off right now. I think he's too stuck in his ways. He was a modern manager when he came in. His techniques and philosophy was far above everyone else.
He's still showing people his PlayStation 1, isn't he? And saying that dinosaur, that 3D dinosaur on
He was a modern manager.
He's just cutting edge.
He was a modern manager when Goodison Park was a modern stadium.
No, I can see the case for it, and I make it continually. My only thing with it is that if they don't get the right guy to the place, look what's happened at Man United. You know, it's very difficult to replace someone who's got that much power and influence over the club. You're gonna have to go for a rebound manager, so you could actually be a year, 2 years.
I don't agree with that.
Well, I'd never asked you whether you agree with it.
Ferguson left Man United at the top. Arsenal's leaving them. Arsenal's at 4th.
Okay, well, no, it's a valid point. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Chris, we're going to head over to you. What are people thinking on the subject?
Shanika LaShawna Jackson, sorry.
You're doing so well.
I know.
English.
Shanika LaShawna, sound. Jackson got it completely wrong. Why would the board pressure Wenger to spend when they are only there for the money, not winning trophies? Gotham Vivek. Wenger is not going to leave, but he knows next season's the last straw. I think he'll buy Higuain or some other world-class striker. Aaron Spears, this is what happens when a manager is given too much power at his club, so kind of agrees with Robbie on that type of stuff. Hoggerty Doherty. Will take years for Wenger's replacement to be successful. We'll have to change the style and the players. I'm quite useless, really. Wenger's ruining lives. He's ruining lives, people. Casper Rum, looking at it from Estonia, Arsenal fans seem to always slag off Wenger instead of focusing on the players that don't perform. You know what, for me, right, there is a large portion of that with Arsenal fans. I think you've got to blame the manager, haven't you, if he's the one ultimately who's getting the results, but the players don't.
You're a football club and like Ranieri are going to win the league. The players are going to get bigged up, but Ranieri ultimately is going to get all the plaudits.
Yeah.
So if you're doing badly, manager's got to feel it as well. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then 2 more, Charlie Johnson. Most teams can't dream of what Arsenal have. And finally, Mark Olivey. Wenger in. Lol. He's a Spurs fan, mate, to be perfectly honest with you.